I haven't talked to anyone this week.
Gobes
I
always
haven't
brings
done
it up.
anything.
But
Yeah.
Oh.
Gobes is our number one fan.
yeah, no, it's true.
True.
At CCM though, we got some free promotion.
Yeah. That's good. We were talking it up.
Dude,
That's
there's
what's
so many intellectual people that I'm so out of my depth. With that stuff. To an extent. To an extent. I don't think I'm dumb. It's just
You're
I
not
don't
out of the depth. You just don't have the language to like. You communicate with different language, basically.
That is
It's
true
a
on a
whole
lot
new
of
language
topics.
when it comes to being like intellectual.
That's true, but then there's also it's not that I'm dumb, it's that I haven't taken the time to even bother with some of the intellectual topics.
You definitely
But
could.
That's
Could
that
be on that level.
man, dude.
You just gotta read a
do you
lot.
have the well that okay, I was just about to say, do you have the same problem I do? I cannot read books on my phone.
I don't try to read books on my phone.
Oh, like I just mean like
No,
through Kindle or Google
I
because
hate
I
it.
have
I
some
had to do
music or music. I have some books on my phone, and I try to read them, and I can't. I read one book on my phone,
Yeah.
Mamba Mentality.
I had to do it for a class one time because I didn't get a book soon enough, and I just needed to get it really quick on my phone. So I was
Yeah.
reading the whole thing on my screen, and it was like
It's
it was
miserable.
Terrible.
I gotta go
I don't
paperback.
know what it was, but
Paperback all day. Like I just read a book last week within a day and a half. I finished that whole book.
I feel like there's something more satisfying about like turning a paper page that you feel accomplished.
And you feel the thickness
yeah,
change
you
left
can
and
like
right.
see
Like,
and yeah, you can see where you're at. But when I was reading on my phone, I felt lost in this like eternal like
yes,
swiping.
felt
I was
like it was just never ending.
I'm like I'm never gonna finish this book.
It's got to be a
Forget it.
mental block, right?
I think it is some weird mental thing.
No, but
Psychology.
yeah, because I have psychology. No, because I have The Logic of God by Ravi Zacharias, but I have it on my phone,
Oh,
and I'm like, I can't do this.
is it an audiobook then?
No,
Oh.
like I just have it the reading. So I don't know. I need to get like the physical copy of it because I've heard it's an amazing book.
That sounds really interesting, actually.
The Logic of God.
That makes me want to read it. Yeah.
It's Tanner on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Tanner. He brought it up to me, and I
Oh,
was
really?
like, I was like, I own one. I don't remember which one it is because he has a lot of books.
Huh.
And he's like, yeah, man, it's just really cool. It goes. He described it as it goes like question by question of what somebody may ask, and it talks about the logic.
So it's just all
of God.
apologetics.
Yeah,
That's cool.
which I mean, Robbie.
Oh yeah, that's
the
what he
goat.
did. Interesting.
Well, is he the goat? That's what we're talking about today. No, I'm just kidding.
I
Of
don't know.
apologetics. I'm just messing around.
Maybe heard him like one time.
Yeah, I've listened to a couple
I
of his
don't-
YouTube videos, and then I have to replay them over and over and over again because
Yeah.
it's next level. Once again, the
I
language.
should actually listen to him.
Dude.
I've never actually.
What? Really?
Yeah.
He is captivating.
Yeah.
He is majorly
That'd be
captivating.
interesting.
But
Cool.
I'm Brock Williamson.
I'm Isaac McPherson.
And this is the Truth Is podcast.
Yeah.
Episode 6.
Yeah.
Dude,
It is
wow.
6. Yep.
We've done that many.
Look
of
at us
these.
go.
It's unbelievable.
Gotta hit 100. That's the goal.
Okay.
That'd be insane.
That would be
100?
insane. 100
Holy-
podcasts.
Come up with that many topics.
Oh, easy.
I feel like
We are, I will say this, anybody out there watching, we are starting to hit the end of our list of pre-decided
Yeah.
topics.
give us stuff to talk about. Please.
Right. Give us ideas, things to talk about, things you want to hear about, all that different stuff. We would greatly appreciate it.
And then also it guarantees that we're talking about stuff that you want to talk about.
That is
or that
true.
You want to hear.
That is true. And I literally saw somebody the other day, a content creator that I follow. She's Gold Glove's girlfriend or wife. I can't remember if they're married. Anyway, and she posted this thing that somebody else posted, and it's just like the algorithm on Instagram, essentially, where it's like, new account, you grow. People don't comment, you get thrown off to the side, you don't grow. And then it's like people like or comment, grow, then exposed to more people. Those people like, comment, grow, and then it just shows this cycle. And basically,
So, like,
she
if
was
people
like,
don't comment and like, it doesn't.
literally any social media platform, if people don't like or comment on your stuff, they will start to like take you off of
Oh,
people's
like
feeds.
the algorithm itself.
Yes.
Interesting.
And so she was
Wow.
she was posting it for the sake of like, hey, a lot of support these days is financial, and she's like, but if you guys want to support me for free, just tap, you know?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you don't have to like something that you don't actually like.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, to support us, we appreciate
Yeah.
it. Comment.
If you like us for
like the
some reason,
videos.
comment and like.
If you like Isaac.
No, not just me.
Yes. Isaac. Because I know there's more people out there that
All right.
watch this
whatever.
that are friends with you.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, what is our topic today, sir?
Yes. Today, we're talking about anxiety and depression, and just hitting a little bit on mental illness. Obviously, there's a lot of different things to talk about with mental illness, but we decided to just kind of focus in on probably even more just anxiety, even more than depression. But a lot of times those two tie in. There's like statistics that it's very likely that if you have an anxiety disorder, you'll also be diagnosed with some sort of depression.
Yeah.
But really kind of what sparked this topic was, I mean, not only is anxiety disorder, I think the most common mental illness, like in America, it was something like 40 million Americans over the age of 18 have anxiety disorder, which is, it was like 18% or something like. But yeah, it's a crazy amount of people. And since the start of quarantine, COVID-19 stuff, anxiety, depression rates have tripled. Like the reports, people's reports of it
Yeah.
have gone up triple. So it was already the biggest like mental health issue, and it's
Yeah.
just continuing to grow
Right.
and become worse. So we're going to
Yeah.
talk about just what do we do with that? How do we navigate that?
I think, not to like jump to what I think the root of it is right away. So like, before we get into the discussion, I want to take like a, what would you call it, a hypothesis.
Okay.
By the end of our discussion, what I
Scientific
believe,
method.
yeah, what I believe maybe the root of that is, and
Yeah.
it's faithlessness, not having faith.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it in my life, where, okay, I don't want to have to say this disclaimer every time,
Yeah.
but there's a difference between like clinically diagnosed anxiety that is maybe a chemical imbalance or so on versus just this anxiety that we feel and rush. Understand, I am not a doctor. I'm not trying to speak to clinical like diagnosed anxiety,
Right.
but I'm just talking about the general anxiety that kind of overtakes people that I think can lead us down
Yeah.
that line. Just want to disclaimer that
No,
right
I think
away.
it's good to clarify what we're kind of talking about.
Because I don't want anybody thinking, oh, he thinks I just need to pray more in my anxiety.
Because
That's
that is
not
like a huge
necessarily
okay, that's a
what
huge
I'm-
issue in the church though, is with mental illness. Like a lot of times
Yeah.
it kind of gets thrown to that extreme side of like, oh, just pray it away.
Or
Like
it's
be more
weakness.
spiritual.
Just
Yeah, you're
be
being
stronger.
weak, so stop having
Yes.
depression, stop being anxious. Okay, but I kind of want to just throw this out. I think just to help kind of add detail to maybe what we're kind of talking
Go for
about
it,
with
yeah.
anxiety is so I mean like anxiety itself is actually like a needed thing. Like the part of our brain that produces anxiety, like there's God created that and it's like a healthy thing. So there's like healthy levels of
Is
anxiety,
it that
like
whole thing where it's like fear keeps you alive?
well, yeah, kind
know
of
what I mean?
like
Like in
there's a
movies, they
healthy
say that.
level of anxiety that keeps me from going in the middle of a busy road and getting hit by a car. Or like when I
Yes.
see a bear, there's a healthy level of anxiety that says don't go like spit on the bear because you'll die.
Did you see that 760-pound bear that was
Yeah,
shot?
you show me the picture of
Oh
it.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So yeah, so there's like anxiety that it's just a normal, natural part of your brain.
yep.
But then it can, I think there's either different circumstances, trauma that happens in your life, even being exposed to traumatic things on the news, things like that. It can begin to like
Heighten your anxiety.
heighten your anxiety, cause
That's
your
why
brain to be
caffeine
triggered.
is-
It really like creates the trigger for anxiety in your brain. Like it becomes more sensitive kind of.
Sure.
Like where
Yeah.
it's triggered by things that normally it wouldn't be. So
Right.
like,
I know that on days where I feel a little more anxious when I wake up in the morning, because there's just some days where I have that. And I know that there's certain, now I'm not, like I said, the clinical diagnosis of anxiety,
Right.
but I know where my anxiety comes from. And I don't just mean like when I see something, hear something, know something. I know that it usually spikes when I'm at an unhealthy point in my life. I think, I'm not saying I have the solution to anxiety, but the general light level of anxiety, I think there's a combination of things that can go into it that can help you. And I think it's backed up by the way the Lord created us. I think it's backed up by science, which I think proves God. I don't think science disproves
Yeah.
God. I think it actually proves God. Now, that's a whole separate topic.
Yeah.
But, so some of those things, I think, you don't have to be some jacked everyday gym member, but going for like a 10, 15-minute walk every day, or like just doing something that is lightly active to heavily active is a role in what I know helps my anxiety. I need to be lightly active. The other thing is actually, it sounds crazy, but being disciplined. I know for a fact that my anxiety spikes when my life is becoming all frivolous and willy-nilly. Because all of a sudden, wait, where'd my money go?
yeah.
Oh, wait. What's going on with my truck? Oh, no, there's a noise. Wait, I didn't take it for an oil change, or I didn't do that. I wasn't disciplined in scheduling or doing this. Like I said, you don't have to be the most scheduled. You don't have to be a gym rat. It's just doing small things, physically speaking, can help with that. I also know immediately I go to, well, Brock, when's the last time that you talked to God? Not just in passing. Sat down, talked to God.
Yeah.
Genuinely prayed, listened, had a conversation back and forth. When's the last time you heavily studied your Bible that had nothing to do with a small group, a Bible study, or a sermon? Because you were talking about that as a pastor. Dude, that was one of the biggest things for me to learn at the get-go was like, wait a second, me preparing for my sermon doesn't count as my personal Bible time.
Right.
And so for me, a lot of those things, it's like a dashboard on a car where all of a sudden lights start going off and anxiety is heightened. I know that I need to take inventory on some of these things. Now, guess what? If some of those things have been done, yet I'm still feeling anxious, because guess what? There's a lot of people that are super good fitness level people.
Yeah.
Anxiety spikes. There's a lot of people that are wealthy and have all the money in the world, yet anxiety and depression spike. You see all of this stuff because there's an answer to it that is spiritual and of faith.
Yeah.
Once again, not speaking to the clinical diagnosis,
Yeah.
but in general, to worry and anxiety, that I think we have to take inventory and see where we are. Because if you don't have faith, that's where worry comes in. Worry. No, worry. Now I'm going to say it weird the whole time. Wario. Waluigi. Okay. Luigi. That was a Gobes reference.
I wish we could have like Gobes just on call to just.
We need a button thing that
Yeah,
has
yeah. You hit
sound.
the button.
The smoke weed every day. When he did that in
Just
that
have like
video.
little Gobisms that it like
Yes.
cycles through
100%.
his different little sayings. That would be awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like we could make an app.
Yeah, we totally could actually.
Wouldn't even be that
my
hard.
gosh. But yeah, so all that kind of saying that's
Yeah.
where
So yeah, really, we're just. Last time, I have to say this: we're not talking about clinical diagnosed anxiety because obviously
we may
the
get into that a
solution
little
for
bit
that.
later.
I mean, yeah, right.
Yeah.
The solution for that is you do need to take medication, do all those things. But so basically, we're talking about how can we manage regular everyday anxiety that comes up and keep it from becoming distorted or causing us to live in fear every day or causing us to inch closer and closer towards like, okay, I actually am becoming to the point where it's like I need to be clinically diagnosed. Because I think there are some situations where like your anxiety can just begin to run so rampant where it brings you to that point of needing medication or whatever, and it could be as a result of not managing a lot of different things in your life well.
Yeah.
And you not being in the right place spiritually.
Yeah.
You know. So
Because spiritual disciplines really help with that.
yeah.
Because I remember when I was at my most unhealthy mentally and physically, and you've heard me talk about this a lot. It's part of my testimony over the last couple of years. I was the heaviest I had ever been, and looked it.
Yeah.
Like not just like right now I'm the heaviest I've ever been, but I don't look it. Well, to an extent, I don't look it. But no, I was in a relationship that was not doing well. And then I spiritually was struggling, and my spiritual disciplines, and I wasn't dealing well with my self-control, and I was hating myself. And then one day I was driving home to pick something up. I was living with my parents at the time, and all of a sudden it crossed through my head, like, you know, what if this is the last time that you see any of this? What if this is and then all of a sudden my brain just went to, Brock, at that intersection up there, you're gonna die. You're gonna get T-boned and you're gonna die, and this is the last time you're gonna drive by this is the last time you're gonna see this is the last time you're gonna see this, the last time you saw your dad, the last time you saw your mom, the last time. All of a sudden all this stuff started rolling through my head, and I started crying.
Yeah.
And I just started like
like a
my
panic
breath
attack.
was freaking out. My heart was racing, and I'm like trying to drive, and I'm like, what the frick is going on?
Yeah.
Like, I have never had something like this in my life, but I'm not kidding you, dude. Like, I was convinced in my head, in my heart, to my being, that I had just died, because I went through the intersection, and all of a sudden everything felt like, this isn't real.
Dang, that's weird.
This is a memory. This is all a memory.
That's crazy.
And all of a sudden, you know, I get home, and then I'm on my way back to the church, and I'm starting to come down off of it a little bit. And I'm just like, just bawling my eyes out. And I was like, Brock, you got to do something, man.
Yeah.
You got to do something. You know, not long after that, ended the relationship. Not long after that, got a gym membership. Not long after that, I cleaned the board of my life, wiped everything clean, and started from ground zero on almost every part of my life. And part of that was, no, I didn't go to the doctor. Should I have? Maybe I should have at that point. I don't know. I'm not recommending you do what I did.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this is what I felt led to do. Ended the relationship. Literally got rid of all my friends and started over at who are going to be my good friends that I can actually talk to, because I need to talk to somebody, because I'm alone right now.
Yeah.
And isolation will kill you.
Oh yeah.
100%. And then got the gym membership, not because I think, like I said, physical fitness isn't the answer to all, but we literally are made that when we do physical activity, our brain is happier. Like our brain just works better.
Yeah.
Like we are made to do, like, we were not meant to just sit here.
Yeah. Or just even like
Forever.
being outside doing something.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be like I'm going to work out, but like go
Correct.
walk.
That's why I
like,
said just
hang out with
any
people.
sort of light activity, like
Yeah.
go for a 10-minute walk. Anything.
Yeah.
And if you want to become a gym rat, become a gym rat. But also then you got to balance the idolatry, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Anyway,
Right.
so then all of a sudden SoulCon came around. And I kind of boosted this with Bill Millard and with some guys from the church, and we started doing SoulCon. And SoulCon is all about spiritual disciplines. Forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do, but you know that they're right for you. Diet, running, praying, spiritual challenges, hard discussions, hard challenges, cold showers, things like that. And it came at the perfect time in my life, and it really helped me to understand spiritual discipline. You think it locks you down, but it really frees you up. And so from that anxiety point of view, it just, for me, that helped me. That got me out of my funk. Do I still have days? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But a lot of that, I can see it in my life. It's because I wasn't very disciplined that week. It was because I was this. It was because I was struggling and everything like that.
Yeah. And I think like it's really, can come as a result of just not trusting God's plan for our life. His like spiritual disciplines, like that is God's like blueprint for the ways that we should live our life,
Yeah.
right? And like when you're living in that, you're much more healthy.
Yeah.
mentally, spiritually, like physically. Like when we were spiritually healthy, I think it centers everything else in our life. But when we're spiritually unhealthy, I think everything else just goes out of whack. Because like ultimately, like the center of who we are is like our soul, like our
Yeah.
spirituality is like really what kind of sets a tone for the way we're living and everything. And are we like fulfilled and satisfied? A lot of times is dependent upon where we're at, like spiritually, you know.
Oh yeah.
But like I can also, just from my own experience with anxiety, like kind of it's like the same. I can point it back to the same things. It was like the time in my life where I was the most like undisciplined spiritually, and it was really more like I just wasn't trusting God with anything during this
Yeah.
stage of my life. It was my junior year of college. I always talk about it as like it was one of the worst times of my life, like worst places I've ever gotten to. Was, yeah, it just really was not like, I knew the things God was like calling me to do and like where he was leading me, but I was just not having it. I didn't, I wanted it to be different, and so I was unsatisfied with where God was telling me to go. I wasn't trusting him. I wasn't being obedient, and yeah, it just led me to kind of just become a total mess and a wreck. And like I had like an anxiety attack for the first time ever, because I was like doing things that were basically going directly against like what God was telling me to do, but it was like just in my flesh, it was like what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But then there was like this, I think part of it was just this crazy conflict between my flesh and like the spirit. And because I was just ignoring everything that God was calling me to do, like, yeah, I was just in shambles, and yeah, I had like this anxiety attack and stuff. And that also like really kind of woke me up, and I was like, okay, I need to stop doing things the way I want to do it. Obviously this is not working out, right?
Yeah.
Because look
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I'm at. Like I'm freaking out. I can hardly breathe. And so then like I had to kind of resubmit myself to the Lord again and resurrender.
Yeah.
Go back to base one and be like, okay, you know what? No, Lord, you are Lord of my life. I'm going to submit what I think is right, what my plans are for my life, and I'm gonna do what you tell me to do, even though it's not the most fun or necessarily what I feel like.
Right.
And what do you know? Like, not soon after, like I got back to, I got back on track, but then I think the Lord took me into one of the more like fruitful times of my life, and
Yeah.
I felt more fulfilled than I felt in a super long time. One of
Yeah.
the most like fulfilling places I had ever been in, simply from just saying, Lord, I'm just going to trust you, even if it doesn't make sense, or even if I don't feel like it, I'm just going to trust you and do what you're telling me to do.
Right.
And so I think a lot of times, yeah, anxiety can come as a result of us just not following the design that God has for our lives.
Oh yeah,
right?
100%.
And obviously, like, God creating us, and I think God created even anxiety, that part of our brain that where there's like that healthy amount of anxiety, but I think God also knows that it can become distorted or can get out of control, just like anything. And so I think God has offered a lot of solutions to that, like through scripture. Like there's a ton of scripture verses that actually speak to anxiety and
worry
talk
and
about how
all
we should
sorts
manage
of,
worry
yeah.
and anxiety. Like
Yeah.
scripture is very aware of the fact that like this is a real human thing that
Just don't.
just about
I'm just
everybody will struggle with.
Yeah. 100%.
But like
Well, and I think about,
I could read one verse
Yeah,
that I
go
have
for
right
it, go
here,
for it.
like speaks straight up. It says, or it's Philippians 4:6-7. It says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds."
Yeah.
And there's
Because anxiety is
plenty of other
from such a human point of
Yeah.
view. Whereas the peace that surpasses all of that human point of view, that human understanding, that peace that comes where you're like, that's the beauty of being a Christian. Though it's still a battle at times, we are able to say, you know what? I don't have to worry. Mm-hmm. I legitimately don't have to worry about anything.
right.
Because I know the Lord.
Yeah.
And I know that no matter what, even if your biggest fear happens, God is still God.
Right.
God is still God, and he's going to work things out, whether it be in eternity or here on earth. You know, because I think,
Yeah.
dude, like the guy that I talked to the other day, I've brought it up so many times since then already, like 2-3 times to people. But since quarantine started, and he's an older gentleman, so just quarantine and COVID in general is a little bit scary if you're older. It is. It has some little anxiety.
Yeah, right.
Quarantine. Then your father-in-law dies, who you were pretty close to. Then your own mother dies. Then your best friend dies. Then everybody at work gets laid off except for you in your position. And then you're the only one that can, but you need time off and you want to mourn and you want to do this. Oh, by the way, we're also going to throw in the fact that you have a health thing going on and we're going to put a major surgery going on. That's coming up.
Yeah.
Talk about sucky quarantine.
Talk about reason for anxiety.
Let alone if there was any quarantine at
Yeah.
all.
Right.
But there is, and COVID,
And
and
all
now
that
all
on
of
top.
that, and church has been, all
Yeah.
this different stuff, which he's a faithful guy. And he just looked at me, and I was like, oh, man, I'm sorry that you got, like, this surgery coming up. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, no, man, I'm at peace. And I'm like, and he's like, Brock, and he went through this stuff, and he's like, I'm okay. I'm one step closer to home.
Yeah.
All this is temporary. And I'm just like, dude, that convicted
That's
me
like
so hard.
powerful.
That
Yeah.
convicted me so, because reality is, as much as I care about the things of this earth, it is all temporary. Do I want to continue to work and build and do these things? Yes. But when it comes to me worrying to the point where it's affecting my health, my mental health, my physical health, where it's affecting me in the way I can reach and do what God's called me to do, it sounds simplistic of like, we don't have to worry though.
Yeah.
We don't. Now,
No,
how do we get to that point? I think it's faith in God.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we strengthen our faith in God? Through spiritual disciplines of prayer, fasting, worship, Bible reading, not giving up meeting together, not for the sense of fellowship, but for the sense of having fellowship with one another and encouraging and sharpening one another. It's all of this stuff, because jumping back to when I went through SoulCon, then right after that is when I felt the closest to the Lord I had felt in a very long time as a pastor.
Right.
And all of a sudden, God showed me the biggest amount of grace he's ever shown me in my life. And it's like, it took locking down spiritual discipline, where, like I said, it's mind-blowing to think spiritual discipline. It sounds like I need to be strict and not allow myself to do anything. Yet it freed up my life and showed me more grace than I've ever shown, and brought me my wife, Naomi. Which is the most gracious thing the Lord's ever done, other than the act of Jesus on the cross.
saving
But
you,
like,
yeah.
but like it, and I truly believe, had I not followed the Lord and what he was calling me to do in that time of not just the fact that SoulCon saved me, but God through SoulCon was able to teach me and show me, had I not gone through all the process that I did, starting way back from that panic, whatever I had, or what, maybe it was just me being mental, you know what I mean? I don't know. But whatever it was to that point, had I not gone on that journey, I don't think Naomi would have been there. She may have been there, but I don't know if I would have been ready.
Yeah.
So it's just through that, knowing God, knowing God, trusting in God. Like you said, it was just not trusting him.
Yeah. I think really just ultimately at the very base of like what we're saying and where we kind of arrived at is like, where is your mind at? Is it on the things of this world? Is it on your earthly circumstances, or is it on eternity and God and what God says about you? Like, where are you living? Are you living in the reality of the kingdom and like eternity, or is everything about your life just focused on your circumstances around you?
Yeah.
And that really will define where your hope comes from, or if you feel hopeful or not, because like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm even just thinking again, like when I was like really feeling anxiety, it was because like everything I was pursuing, I was so caught up in like, oh, like I don't have this thing in my life, or I want this, or like I want a girlfriend and I don't have one, or like I'm sick of being at school.
You
I want to
single?
be graduated all. Yeah, okay, every episode I'm single for.
No,
just-
we're
yeah.
seeing who's gonna comment down below.
But it was like everything in my mind that was stressing me out was like had to do with my earthly circumstances and like things I didn't
Yeah.
have. It had to do with like discontentment. Like, God,
Yeah.
I'm not content with what you've given me already or where I'm at right now.
Dude.
You know, and
I think I know where you're going with this. But just before you get there,
okay.
I want to jump in and just share, like, very similar to you lately over the past 3 months, I have had many things pop up like anybody else where I'm like all of a sudden getting anxious or worried. And I remind myself, and I literally have to have this conversation. You know what, God? I submit it to you. And in those moments, all of a sudden I'm like, whoop,
Yeah.
don't have to worry. And then he provides, he provides, he provides, he provides, he provides, he provides. Like, it just, dude, it's a never ending list over the past 3 months for me. Where
Yeah.
I'm trying to do something, I'm trying to do something, I'm trying to do something. And I'm like, okay, I'm being faithful by working, active hands, you know, not idle hands. And I'm doing this. Then all of a sudden it's like, wait, Brock, if you're doing this, but you don't submit it to the Lord, you're still going to be worried about it. Like, you're still going to be concerned. Like, the Colony show. Finally, like, last week I had to be like, Lord, you know, I'm editing and working on this, but if this isn't for your glory, if you're not actually in this, these students, it's not going to do anything. I submit it to you. My truck, when we finally found my truck. Finances over the past few months, which
Yeah.
have been up and down like flipping wildfire. Well, that's insensitive due to the West Coast. Sorry, prayers.
Oh.
But just up and down like crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just agreeing with you, certifying, let that be a testimony to God's faithfulness, that when I finally had the conversation of, Lord, I submit this to you. Like, just legit, just, Lord, I don't know what your will is, what's going on, but I submit it to you. He literally did bring that peace, and then all of a sudden he took care of it. Wasn't instantaneous, sometimes it was, which then that really, like, freaks you out. You're like, wait a second. Is this coincidence? No, don't question the act of God. But in that essence. But continue down your path, because I think I know where you're going with it. The contentment.
Right. So I think another reason why anxiety rates are so high like nowadays is because like discontentment is so high because of things like social media.
Yep.
And like just the exposure to like the highlight reel of everyone's life
Yeah.
becomes like, it begins to just like, it's like we spend all day on social media and all we're seeing is, oh, I don't have this. Oh, look at how much better their life is than me. Oh, look at these things that I wish I could have, you know. Yeah. Like look at how bad my life is.
Look at how big
And
that
that's-
person's bear is.
Yeah. And I'm thinking all day, I'm not where I should be. My life is just disappointing. I should be doing better than this. All this stuff, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And you're completely taking your eyes off of the things that the Lord has blessed you with, the things that the Lord has provided for you with. And I think even that begins to cause anxiety in your life, because you become anxious about just the fact that, you know, you feel like nothing in your life is where it should be. Right. And so I think like learning how to have contentment will be one of the biggest like helps for just limiting and managing anxiety in your life.
Yeah.
Because like through being content, I think first of all you just think less about the things that you don't have. You know, you become more satisfied with where your life's at, but I think it also helps you to come to the place of like trusting God to be your provider.
Yeah.
Like, which I think ultimately is the solution to anxiety, is just trusting that like no matter what, God will provide for me. Really saying I don't have to control anything. I don't have to know the answer to anything, because God will provide for me.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really hard to be in that place when you're discontent about everything in your life, because then you're like, oh well, God isn't giving me this, so I need to just do something about it. Like I don't have that car yet. I've been waiting for God to give it to me, and he hasn't yet, so I'm just gonna go get it myself.
Yeah.
And so now you start putting all this like pressure on yourself to provide the things that you think you need or whatever. And so yeah, I just think that bursts a lot of anxiety and even depression, thinking,
Oh, yeah.
oh, look where my life's not at, look how disappointing my life
Right.
is. And it's statistically proven, there's so many studies that show that social media has a direct correlation to negative mental health in
Yeah.
people's lives.
100%.
Like it's like a real legit thing.
Yeah.
And so
That's like, it makes me think, this is going to, all right, here we go, down Brock's little rabbit trail here. Follow me on this.
All right.
There's a movie, okay, it's a golf movie, and this guy shows up to tournament day, and he's got the shanks. He shows up to the range, and everybody at the range, and he almost hits people on the range.
Yeah.
Other pro golfers, and he's got the shanks, and he's looking at his caddy like, what was that?
yeah.
Because anybody that doesn't play golf understand when you show up to the golf course and you hit a ball and you shank it, like I'm talking shank, you don't know why. It just happens. Like you're like, wait, what? I'm doing the same thing I always do, and somehow
it's
the
just
ball is
going.
going straight over there,
Yup.
which it should be going there. And I'm serious, it's a total mental block. Like it's a total thing that just you're swinging, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm not kidding you. You might as well pack up your bags and come back tomorrow. And guess what? Tomorrow you'll probably be fine. Like it doesn't make sense. It comes out of
Yeah.
nowhere. I'm not saying anxiety and depression is like that. Just wait. What the caddy does in that situation, he's like, come here. And he's like, you got to get your head in this. He's like, well, what's going on? Fine.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. He's like, you got to fix this. You're my caddy. And he's like, okay, fine. Double knot your left shoe. What? Double knot your left shoe. He's like, you got coins in your pocket? Put your coins in your other pocket. And he makes them do all this. Turn your hat, do this, do that, stick your tongue out this way, that way. Like, he just makes up. And then all of a sudden he's like, all right, now hit the ball. And the dude just smokes it. And he's like, what in the world? And he's like, I don't know. Like, what I'm saying is sometimes what it takes for you to fix your situation, if you're feeling a heavy or even light, bogged down sense of anxiety and or depression, you know what? You got to change something. You need to do something, even if it seems like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Delete.
Well, I think it's just get your head out of that situation.
Well,
Like,
right.
you need to
which is why I'm saying, like, it seems like you shouldn't delete social media because it allows you to reach people, but delete your social media for a little bit.
Yeah.
Delete it. I don't care what your excuse is. Well, I run this page. Delete it. Delete it. Delete it. Go serve somewhere. Go volunteer and do something just one day. Start doing your lightly activeness. Walk. Like, just go for a walk. A little walk. And you know what? Even the best part is invite a friend. Go for a walk with a friend. Once again, I'm not saying you should isolate yourself, but delete your social media. Quit doing the same old stuff you always do. Quit drinking caffeine. Drink a whole bunch of water. I'm not saying this is the solution to all. I'm just saying I'm giving
There's little things
suggestions.
you can do to help.
Little things, but all of that doesn't matter unless you get back to the spiritual aspect and discipline of it.
Yeah.
And understand the reason why you do a lot of these things is because deleting the social media allows you to look at your life and be content with what God gave you.
Yeah.
And jumping into scripture and reading about that and understanding and allowing God to bring revelation to your life of, whoa, this is the world I live in, not this is the world I live in. And living in your actual own world, oh my word, you see things that you just never even, it'll blow your mind. It really will. It's why, like, I've told Naomi this and she doesn't believe me, but I've been debating on going to a flip phone.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
Dude,
I've been debating
I
going to a
wanted
flip
do
phone.
that for a while.
The only bummers are, I really want a camera.
Yeah.
And flip phones don't have, like, they got garbage cameras.
Trash.
And, I'll still have, like, I'll get, like, an iPad or something for, like, some of the social media. Because for the colony, I do
like
manage
part of
some
your
of
job.
it. But guess what? It doesn't really stop me from, I need to get off.
Yeah.
Because, man, yeah, the anxiety is real. Social media does not help. And, it seems silly, but I'm telling you, coming up to hunting season, I have to stay off social media because you get bogged down with what other people are doing. They're posting their big bucks. They're posting their big bears. Like, literally, just 2 days ago, and I referenced it earlier, I drew for bear hunting this year. I know some of you guys won't care about this, but hear me out. I drew for bear hunting. I am baiting and hunting near Black River. Guess what gets shot in Black River? A new state record black bear by a 10-year-old girl. No offense. Hey, more power to the women out there. Good way to go. Girl hunters, awesome. 760-pound black bear.
Yeah.
This 10-year-old girl shoots it. Who knows how far away from where I'm hunting? Because I'm up there in the same area. Although there's tons of state forest up there. But I'm like, what in the world? You know, but guess what? It provides me anxiety because I haven't had a bear on camera yet. My bait hasn't really been getting hit. Am I going to get a bear? It always takes years to get your bear license. What if I never get to hunt a bear again? And this is all very little, and it doesn't seem that important. To me, it's kind of a big deal because it's what I love. But ultimately, I'm telling you, it's the same thing. All of a sudden, you look at, wow, those people are married and look pretty happy.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I just had a moment the other day. I saw another pastor and his wife and his 3 kids, and I'm thinking, can I even have kids right now? Like, with the world the way that it is, number one. Number two, with the money, with where we live, with this, with that. And all of a sudden, it's like, anxiety. Like, it creeps in for me, you know? And starting a family has been one of the biggest things for me lately. But, man, if I would just take my time and quit going through all of the crap and looking at other people's stuff, let them live their life, and just look at my wife. Look at my life, my wife and my life.
Nice.
Look at what I'm doing. Look at my friends face to face. You know, look at my students face to face. Come to work and see the office manager, see my boss. Start to notice these things. It's like, it's almost indescribable how it changes, how your life changes. It really is.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even describe it.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And I feel like it's honestly such a simple thing, but it's
so
like
hard.
so hard to do because
It's like everything in the Bible.
Yeah, no, it's true. The Bible is simple but hard to execute.
Yeah.
Because we're dumb humans. But
I want to be an alien.
like, I'm just kidding.
Oh, dude, I just got
Me
lightheaded.
too.
Whoa.
You are an alien. You're not of this world. You're a citizen of heaven.
That is correct. Philippians 3:20,
Something.
21.
Yeah.
I just did the quarantine Bible study on it.
Yeah, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's our foundational
Just-
verse.
If you're feeling like anxiety is just weighing you down, or like just like you're just constantly anxious, that's something you're dealing with. Like Brock said, like change the rhythms in your life, create space, new space in your life. Get away from the thing, just what you're doing. Retract yourself from that situation and give yourself space to reassess your life, reassess the things that are actually important, reassess the things that you actually need to put your time to. Write down the things that like you are thankful for, like the things that God has actually blessed you with. Allow yourself to actually see the ways that God is providing for you.
Yeah.
But also like just honestly, like just make, if you don't have a consistent space and time in your life where you are getting away from everything and you are just being with God, being in the Word, praying, seeking Him, setting your eyes on Him, like honestly, I think you will just continue to have anxiety in your life, because again, like ultimately, I think that is the solution, is putting your eyes on God as your provider and trusting Him and just presenting your requests, and if you need a space to vent about your anxiety or to bring that, like make God that space.
Yes.
Cast your anxiety on Him.
Don't do
your
it anywhere
worries,
else.
your stress onto Him.
Yeah.
And allow your time with the Lord to be the space where you just unload all of that.
Yeah.
And like, I think it will be just, I think almost like intangible, the ways that like, that will just begin to change the way you view your life.
Oh,
and
for sure.
just your outlook on life, your fulfillment in life. Because I just think that's part of God's design for our lives, is that He would be what fulfills us and what satisfies us, and that He would, again, like God knows anxiety is a real thing. Like
100%.
he 100%. It's not like he's surprised if you come to him and you're like, God, I'm anxious about my life, or I'm unsatisfied with my life. Like, no, like I think God genuinely wants you to bring that to him, and will be the solution to that if you will learn to put that effort in to be close to God and learn to trust him.
Yeah.
I think like naturally that as you just draw closer to God and you learn to trust him more and more, like naturally anxiety and worry will just stop being a part of your life. Or at least will become easier to manage.
Overcome. I think like what you're saying, it's something that my dad always told me and my sisters. He's like, life is not lived in the inventory room, it's lived on the sales floor. Because he was a salesman when he was in college, a shoe salesman. You have to go back to the inventory room to see what you have, see what you don't have, see what you need, see what's going on. But if all we do is ever live in the inventory room, that's where I think anxiety spikes. Life is meant to be lived on the sales floor, interacting, seeing, doing, living. And my dad always brought that up to us. And I think, another thing that my mom, when she was a youth pastor, or youth director, whatever, would always do. She had a sermon where all the chairs were facing in towards this X. And she talked about that's what our perspective can be sometimes. And when all we're doing is focusing in, living in the inventory room, and we're just focusing in, we get caught up in this whole mess of things. And she's like, had us turn our chairs out. She's like, you need to be looking out. She's like, go volunteer somewhere. Whenever somebody was complaining to my mom or would talk about, oh, man, I don't know, she'd be like, go volunteer. There's a soup kitchen, there's this, there's that. Go volunteer somewhere. Not that that's the be-all, end-all solution, but I think the principle of it is that sometimes our anxiety comes from not living out the call on our life.
Yeah. No, I just had this thought, like, what if anxiety is a way that God is trying to get you to move out of your situation, to take action somewhere in your life? Like, okay, just like the healthy anxiety in our life, if a bear is walking towards us, anxiety tells us we need to change our situation fast or we're gonna die.
No, just kidding.
No, we need to get away from the situation. There just needs to be action. We need to move, right?
Yes.
Anxiety is a sign that we need to move. There needs to be action somewhere. And what if anxiety in your life is God trying to start you out, trying to move you, saying, hey, you're spiritually, if you keep staying where you're at spiritually, you're going to die. You need to make changes in your life. Oh, I haven't hit the table in a while.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. That's when I get really into it. I just start banging the table. No, but really,
but
like,
for real,
you having panic attack, anxiety attack, whatever that was, that triggered change in your life that led you to a season of like fruitfulness and one of the most healthy, like spiritually places you've been, right?
Yeah.
And what's so funny?
I'm laughing because I thought of another analogy, but I'll wait.
Stop.
Yeah. Well, no, it goes with what you're saying.
And like, same for me, like that when anxiety got really bad for me, it finally pushed me to like get back to where I needed to be spiritually, right? So maybe allow anxiety in your life to cause you to reassess things and to move and to be more outward focused, to be more focused on God. Like, take it as a warning.
I think there's a couple things that go with that. Like there's a natural hum to life. This is where, all right, man, everybody's going to be sick of me by the end of this, but it's the way that deer hear in the woods. 100%, bro. I just learned this a couple weeks ago. Their hearing is not much better than humans. Did you know that? Like their hearing is not that much better. There's certain frequencies that they hear better, but ultimately what it is that a deer lives in the woods, just like we live in this world. And what do we notice? We don't necessarily notice all the sounds going on, but we notice when there's a new sound. We notice when there's a change in sound. The same way deer, when they hear or when they see and they're like, wait a second, I always look here. Something looks different and I don't know what it is. Deer get anxious.
Yeah.
The same way we as humans, it's the same thing, though over time, because we've created comfort zones. We've created comfort zones that have dimmed down that ability to sense that. But in reality, dude, sometimes when you're in a situation, you're just like, whoa, hair stands up on the back of your neck and you're not really sure why.
Yeah.
It's because something may be happening. Something may be happening that is endangering to you. Guess what? As Christians, if that happens, it's not always physical. It's spiritual. There's a natural spiritual hum. And if some new sound or new thing or the prowling enemy is approaching and you caught a glimpse of something, wait, something doesn't look right. Anxiety spikes a little bit. I need to draw to the Lord. The same way
Right.
that it was Peter on the boat, right?
Right, yeah.
You know, the same way that I shared it on a Wednesday. It was not a very clean sermon. It could have been better, but
Whatever.
yeah, the point hopefully got across is that I was talking about kind of the same thing where anxiety is actually sometimes a good thing, within reason, obviously.
As long as it points us back to God.
Correct,
then, yeah.
because Peter's in the boat. It's the comfort zone, baby. But there's a calling. There's a calling which caused this to go out there. And when our eyes are first fixed on Jesus and we're stepping out of that comfort zone, life feels pretty good. We get a nice high on life. It's like coming out of camp. Woo, baby! And then all of a sudden, it's like we start looking at the things around us. Well, what about my finances? What about my relationships? What about this? What about... And we start looking at the waves. And all of a sudden, anxiety. Peter would have been fine if he just would have...
Kept his eyes.
Like, he's looking at the waves. If he would have just been like, okay, no, Jesus. It's that, don't go back to the boat, because then you're missing the calling. And then you're going to be back in the boat, and you're going to think, man, what could I have done? Where could I be? I could have been the first man to walk on water, second man to walk on water. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could have been. Which then that produces anxiety, too, because you didn't answer the call.
Right.
So with that, dude, as long as that anxiety, that worry, that fear, whatever it does that stirs up in you, points you back to God, points you back to keeping your eyes focused, like going towards Him, I think that yes, it can be used because we were created that way, like the deer, like us, when there's a hum, but then all of a sudden the hum has a kink in it. Like my truck. I know what it sounds like. As soon as I hear okay, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. I need to take it somewhere.
Yeah.
You wouldn't procrastinate that.
Right.
Why do you procrastinate your own health? And spiritual, physical, mental? Which, I mean, we don't even have to get into, the church needs to be a little more attentive to this.
Yeah. Well, it definitely does.
I'm just saying that's a very long, drawn out
we
path,
don't-
because then we'll get into, then we can get into the clinical side of it where it's like, what about medication? Is medication okay? Conspiracy theories aside on what you think about the medication and how much money they make off it and all this different stuff. That aside, is there actual benefit to the medication and this process and going to the doctor? I am not the person that believes the doctor is evil and you don't have faith if you go to the doctor.
Right.
Do I go to the doctor? No, but it's for different reasons. It's more of a financial thing than anything. But, I always think of that joke where it's like the guy's drowning in the water and a boat comes by. No, God will save me. Boat comes by. No, God will save me. He drowns, dies, goes to heaven. God, where were you? And he's like, hey, dummy, I sent you 2 boats. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Now, that's not scriptural necessarily.
No,
but
I mean,
at the same time, I mean, he did send a boat or build a boat for the animals.
true. You did. Boats are spiritual.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Cats aren't. I just took an unnecessary jab at cats right there. But
Cats are stupid.
yeah,
Sorry.
they
if you
spike
like
my
cats.
anxiety. No, mountain lion. That would spike my.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what really spikes my anxiety is tomorrow morning going into the deer stand in the dark in a new area where there's
just stalking you.
coyotes, possible mountain lions, because they have been seen out there. Not like in that exact spot, but like Black River. That spikes my anxiety right there. I want to be sprinting to my stand.
Sketchy.
But, I think we kind of got to the truth of it, to the root of it a little bit. I think, once again, we've been saying it throughout. We're not necessarily talking about the severe clinical anxiety. We're talking about those light, maybe even to a point where it's kind of heavy, but
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily like life threatening, if that kind of makes sense to you guys.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about this light level that, you know, things that you can do to overcome this. And what really the point of it is to point you back to Jesus, point you back to God.
Yeah,
Get there.
let it be a sign to you that there's maybe an area of your life where you're not trusting God, where you haven't fully surrendered to Him,
Yeah.
where you haven't made Him the center of it, you know. And like when that anxiety comes up, take inventory of that area of your life and bring it like back to God and
Yeah.
present it to Him, and just resurrender that and make Him the center of it again. I think ultimately is the
biggest
solution, is making God your provider. But that just takes time. That's like, it's not something where it's like my anxiety comes up and you're like, okay, God, you're my provider, and then boom, like everything's
it's
fine.
not
But
an
it's like,
abracadabra moment.
it's like it takes the time of consistently being in God's presence, consistently trusting Him, surrendering things to Him. And just like any human relationship, you build trust over time.
Took me about a year.
Yeah.
From that point of that, like, whatever a thing I had, even though things got better by like 6 months, for me to really to understand and gain understanding
Yeah.
and trust the Lord and actually have it be a permanent change took like a year or more, you know.
Yeah. So
It's a process.
take the time, go through the process to build
It's worth
trust in your relationship with God, and to make Him the provider of your life, truly, not just saying it, but
it. Yeah.
but
Or when you
truly.
need something.
Yeah, or when you need something, right? And I think you will find that is the cure to most anxiety in
Most
your
of your
life.
worry,
So most of
anxiety.
your worry,
Yep.
yeah.
Fear,
So
doubt. I'm just gonna start
a
listing
lot of
things.
things. Yes.
Oh my goodness.